Here, one ice block of height h having a bore in it is kept over the surface of the water. So whenever it is floating here, a part of height of the ice block is submerged in liquid, which is equal to, suppose the height of the ice block over the surface of the water is say y, then the height of the ice block submerged in the water is equal to h minus y. H minus y is equal to this one. So this height of the ice block is submerged in the water. Okay, then because of what this ice block is submerged in the water, the equivalent to what is displaced from this place. Okay, due to that buoyant force acts on them in upward direction. As it is floating, Fb is equal to mg. What is the buoyant force? That implies buoyant force means weight of the water displaced, area of cross section of the ice block, because at the bore there is no ice, there is no mass of the ice block. So remaining area of cross section is capital A. So area of cross section into depth up to which ice block submerges is capital H minus y. It is the volume of the ice block volume of the material of the ice submerged in the liquid water. Okay, into density of the water, that gives mass of the water displaced into z, weight of the water displaced. So this is equal to buoyant force. That is equal to mass of the ice block into acceleration due to gravity. Mass of the ice block means area of cross section of the ice block into height of the ice block gives volume of material of the ice block into density of the ice block gives mass into z. So here A, G, AZ cancel. Okay, therefore H minus Y by capital H is equal to density of ice by density of the water. We can write. Okay, split them. 1 minus Y by H is equal to rho I by rho W. So from this Y by H is equal to 1 minus rho I by rho W, or Y is equal to capital H into 1 minus rho I by rho W. So Y means the height of the ice block above the surface of the water. So if you know this height, then what is up to this depth? At this depth only, no. If the ice of the ice block, height of the ice block over the surface of the water is y, means the water is at a depth y from the surface of the ice block. That's why if you take the rope of length, at least minimum length equal to y, then by means of bucket we can lift the water, no, from this. We can lift the water from this. That's why the minimum length of the rope is equal to this one. That is equal to height of the ice block above the surface of the water. This is equal to minimum length of the rope needed. Minimum length of rope needed to lift water through bore. To lift the water through the bore, the minimum length of the rope needed is equal to height of the ice block above the surface of the water. So in this way, we can calculate. Okay, this is, of course, this is simple concept, but important one. Okay, next. Okay, next, explain its applications. The next one. Suppose there is a U-shaped tube. There is U-shaped tube. There is a U-shaped tube, uniform tube. That means area of cross section same everywhere. Okay, it is filled with liquid. Whenever here in the U-shaped tube through one limb, when water is poured or liquid is poured, then the liquid passing through this U-shaped tube and it rises here also. And when you stop pouring the liquid, then the liquid level stands at the same level here and here initially. Okay, initially whenever there is no motion in the U-shaped tube, the U-shaped tube is kept vertical like this, and when it is at rest, in such case, the liquid taken in the U-shaped tube will be stands at the same level in the two vertical limbs of the U-shaped tube. Suppose if it is moving with certain acceleration in this direction, definitely due to pseudo force acts on this liquid on the horizontal tube, then the liquid level rises here and it falls. Whenever it rises, definitely it falls. What is the difference in heights of liquid? Already I said in the class. But here, that is the not case. Whenever this tube, one limb of the U-shaped tube is made to rotate with angular velocity omega. One limb of the U-shaped tube is made to rotate with angular velocity omega in any direction, clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. What happens? What about the levels of the liquid? Tell me. What about the levels of the liquid? In which direction water rises, on right limb or left limb? On right limb. Very good. Because on right limb the water level rises and on the left limb the water level falls. What is the reason here? Here, whenever the U-shaped tube is made to rotate about its vertical limb with angular velocity omega, the liquid in the horizontal tube experiences centrifugal force. The liquid in the horizontal tube experiences centrifugal force in this direction. Centrifugal force in this direction. Okay, centrifugal force, FCF. Centrifugal force. So because of centrifugal force, the total liquid try to move in this direction. But as long as the water level increase here, the liquid level increase here, the pressure at this point becomes more and pressure at this point becomes less. That's why here pressure at this point is a P1, pressure at this point is a P2. Okay, then because of the centrifugal force, whenever the liquid here is moving in this direction, the water level in this rises and in this level, in this tube, the water level falls. So here water level falls. Initially both are at heights, say h. But now water level falls to h1 height, say, or h dash. Here water level rises to h dash. So now what is the difference in levels of the liquid columns in the two tubes? Means here liquid level is here liquid level is here. So this is h1, h dash, it is h dash. That's why it is 2h dash. So y is equal to 2h dash. That is equal to question mark. So whenever the one limb of the U-shaped tube is made to rotate with angular velocity omega, then there is a difference in liquid levels are maintained. Then what is the difference in heights of the liquid columns in the two vertical limbs of the U-shaped tube? Why these liquid levels are changed? Means because of centrifugal force acts on the liquid column in the horizontal tube, then the liquid level rises here. As long as the liquid level rises here, then the pressure at this point increases. Okay, when pressure increases here as the liquid level falls, the pressure decreases. Due to that, a pressure difference is created across the liquid in the horizontal tube. As pressure here is more and here is less, definitely due to pressure difference, some force acts on this liquid column towards left. That is the force due to pressure difference. So whenever force due to pressure difference and centrifugal force both are equal in magnitude, at that time the liquid level remains under equilibrium. So here the liquid level falls. Now the liquid level is here up to this. So initial liquid level is up to this only, h only, but whenever the vessel is made to, the U-shaped tube is made to rotate, liquid level difference is created. Okay, suppose this is say here, this is h1, this is say h2, then h2 minus h1 is equal to y, which is equal to 2h dash. Okay, now because we need the heights from this place only, because to write the pressures here and here, we need the heights from the bottom only. Okay, now under equilibrium on the liquid column in the horizontal tube, net force is 0. Because of that only it is under equilibrium. Otherwise the liquid in the horizontal tube will move in this direction or in this direction, but it's not moving. Whenever it is under equilibrium means net force acts on the liquid column in the horizontal tube must be 0. On the horizontal liquid column, centrifugal force acts in this direction, and due to pressure difference, the force acts in this direction. So under equilibrium, force due to pressure difference must be balanced by the centrifugal force acts on this liquid column. This is equation 1. So force due to pressure difference means P2 is greater than P1. That's why P2 minus P1 into area of cross section of the tube A. So into A is equal to centrifugal force X. This is equation 2. So how we can find the centrifugal force? Here you see, this is the axis of rotation. This is the axis of rotation. Of course, every element of this liquid column in the horizontal tube is having same angular velocity omega. As it is rotating with angular velocity omega about this axis, each and every element in the horizontal tube is having same angular velocity. But whenever it is under equilibrium, different elements in the liquid column in the horizontal tube are at different distances from the axis of rotation. That's why different elements travel along the different different radii of this different circular paths of different radii. That's why different centrifugal forces acts on different elements in the different elements of the liquid column in the horizontal tube. That's why first you find the centrifugal force acts on one of the elements here, then you do integration. Suppose this side of the U shape here, this horizontal tube of the U shaped tube is say L. This length is say L. This length is say L. Now we consider one element here. You consider one element here having mass dm, length say dx. It is at a distance. It is at a distance say x from the axis of rotation. Then what is the centrifugal force acts on the element? Centrifugal force acts on the element. Centrifugal force acts on element. Comma df is equal to, whenever the U-shaped tube is rotating about this axis, this element which is at a distance x from the axis of rotation rotates along the circular path of radius x. That's why centrifugal force is equal to mass of the element dm into radius of circular path x into omega square. Okay, what is the mass of the element? Area of cross section into length of the element dx. This length of the element is considered as dx. Okay, area of cross section into length gives mass, length gives volume into density of the liquid rho gives mass, okay, into x into omega square. This is the centrifugal force acts on the element here. This type of elements can imagine from this position to this position, from x is equal to 0 to x is equal to L. Therefore, total centrifugal force FCF is equal to integral dF between the limits x is equal to 0 to x is equal to L. That is equal to A rho omega square into x dx. Limits 0 to L. Therefore, A rho omega square is constant, you keep aside, into integral x dx means x square by 2. Limits 0 to L. Therefore, A rho omega square into L square by 2. It is the centrifugal force acts on the liquid column in the horizontal tube. Due to that, the liquid level rises here and it falls. As long as the liquid level rises, the pressure at this point increase and the pressure at this point decrease, so that in this direction pressure difference gradually increase. Whenever pressure difference increases, the force acts on this liquid column in the horizontal tube towards left gradually increases. Whenever the centrifugal force acts on this liquid column balances the force acts on this liquid column due to pressure difference, then at that position the liquid levels are under equilibrium. At that time, the height of the liquid column in this tube is H1, in this tube is say H2. Okay, then how we can write P2? Okay, therefore this is the equation 3. From 2 and 3. From 2. What about P2? P2 means pressure at this point. That is equal to, as these two limbs are open to atmosphere pressure P0 acts. Okay, P0 plus pressure at this point due to this height of the liquid column is H2 rho g. H2 rho g. Sometimes two liquids may be given. Sometimes here two liquids may be there. This is one liquid, up to this one liquid, up to this one liquid, like that. Okay, then on this part of the liquid, from x is equal to 0 to some x is equal to L1, you find the centrifugal force. From L1 to L2, you find the centrifugal force. You add them. That is the total force acts on this liquid column. Yeah, pressure at this point means H1 into this H1 into density rho 1 into Z. Here pressure means P0 plus, of course, here also P0. H2 into density of this liquid rho 2 into Z. In such a way, we have to write. But I have taken the same liquid here. Minus of pressure at this point. P1 means P0, atmosphere pressure acts at this point P1 on P0 plus pressure due to height of the liquid column H1 density into Z into area of cross section of the tube A. That is equal to FCF means this only, no? A rho omega square L square by 2. So it P naught cancel. Here in both the terms we can take rho z common. H2 minus H1 into rho z. Of course, A can be cancelled. Okay, this is equal to rho omega square L square by 2. Rho cancel. Therefore, H2 minus H1 is equal to Y now. Therefore, Y is equal to H2 minus H1, that is equal to omega square L square by 2z. Here it is similar to omega square R square by 2z formula is there, no? Because in a cylindrical vessel, when the liquid is taken and the cylindrical vessel is rotated about its natural axis, then the liquid at the middle, the liquid level decreases, and at the edges it rises. It is in a paraboloid shape like that. Okay, then what is the difference in heights of the liquid surface at the middle and at the edges? That H is equal to omega square R square by 2z, where R is the radius of the cylindrical vessel we got. Here also it is also almost the same type formula is there. Okay. So this is also one important concept application. Okay. Shall I write? H dash is equal to omega square by H dash is equal to omega square L square by 2 now. This is equal to 2H dash. This is equal to 2H dash, of course. This is equal to 2H dash. This is equal to Y now. Y is equal to H dash. Okay. Right. Okay, Sriram. Understood? Right. Shall I erase now? Shall I erase? Okay. So during floods, sometimes in a river, if the water increase, the storage water gradually increase, so that height of the water in the river gradually increase. Sometimes, unfortunately, it may happen that the dams may fall, dams may fly off, cracks may occur in the dams when more water is stored in the reservoirs. Sometimes it is happen. Sometimes the dam may fall. So what happens here? How the dam falls? Dam falls means here dam rotates, turns like this and falls. So what happens there? How it will fall? We have to discuss. Okay. Okay. Next. Reservoir hyphen dam. Okay. Suppose here there is a dam like this. There is a dam like this, and the gates are there. Gates are arranged here. Suppose here it is the bottom of the dam. That means it is the bed of the river also. Okay. Suppose here in the river, the water is up to certain depth. It is the surface of the water. So water is at a depth capital H, say. So in the reservoir, the water is at a depth capital H, and the dam is having somewhat more height. Okay, here it is the base of the dam. Generally, while constructing the dams, the base of the dam will be more. The base of the dam will be more. What is the reason? We will discuss. Here, suppose when you apply the force like this, then on the dam or on the gates of the dam, gates are there, no? So on the gates of the dam, due to water, as the pressure acts on them, force acts on the dam in this direction. Here, but here you see, as long as we move from surface of the water to the depth, then the depthing, as long as depth increases, pressure increases. When pressure increases, force acts on the dam gradually increases. That's why force acts on the dam at the bottom is very large compared with the top. That's why here at different points on the dam, variable force acts, not constant force. Okay, that's why what is the average force acts on the dam? We have to find. So for that, you imagine a small element here. You imagine a small element of the dam. Of course, this may be small element of the dam or part of the gate. Part of the gate at a depth say y. And the thickness of the element considered is say dy. At this point, because of pressure P, at this point, here suppose the width of the dam, is say B. So the width of the gate is also say B. Okay, width of the gate is say B or width of the dam is B. So on the width B of the dam, because of this pressure, some force acts in this direction. Actually, pressure at this point is there, pressure at this point is also there. At this point, only force due to atmosphere pressure acts in this direction. Due to atmosphere pressure. Here pressure is P. No doubt, here at this point, pressure means pressure due to this depth of the water and atmosphere pressure both acts at this point. So at this point, pressure is more, at this point, pressure is less. Due to this pressure difference across this layer or across this element, some force acts on this element of the dam in this direction. That force acts on the element of the dam in this direction is equal to dF is equal to, what is the formula? dF is equal to force acts on the element of the dam. Force acts on element of the dam. Force acts on element of the dam. Comma dF is equal to pressure into area of the element. Pressure into area of the element considered. Pressure means atmosphere pressure means pressure difference across them. Pressure difference across them. Delta P, right? Delta P means P minus P naught. Pressure at this point is P minus P naught. Because due to pressure P at this point, force acts in this direction due to because it is open to atmosphere, no? Dam is open to atmosphere here on the other side. That's why here atmosphere acts. So pressure because of pressure difference at this point and at this point, P minus P naught. Some force acts on this element of the dam. The area of the element considered is say dA. Then this is the force due to pressure difference across this element. Force acts on the dam, element of the dam, which is equal to what is P? P means pressure at this point means atmosphere pressure plus pressure due to depth of the this element due to depth of the liquid column. So P naught plus this depth is y into y rho z or h rho z. Okay, it is the pressure at this point due to atmosphere pressure and due to depth of the water. Okay, minus atmosphere pressure P naught into area of the element. Area of the element means breadth is B. So here the element is also having same breadth and the height is equal to dy. That's why B into dy is the area of the element considered. So B into dy. So here P naught cancel. So y rho z into B into dy. Y rho z into B into dy. Therefore, dF is equal to d rho z is constant, y into dy. It is equation 1. So it is the force acts on the element due to pressure difference across the element of the dam. Therefore, what is the total force acts on the dam due to water? Total force or average force. Okay, total force first you find. Later we can find average force. total force acts on the dam. Total force acts on dam. F is equal to integral df. This type of elements can be considered from y is equal to 0 to y is equal to capital H up to depth. This is equal to integral df means b rho g into y dy. Y is equal to 0 to capital H. That is equal to integral, sorry, b rho z you write outside. Integral y dy means y square by 2. B rho z is constant, you keep aside. Integral y dy means we can write y square by 2 now. So you write y square by 2. Then you substitute the limits from 0 to h. So y is equal to 0 to capital H you write. Okay. So therefore f is equal to b rho z into, when you substitute the upper limit first, you have substitute upper limit now. So y means h you substitute, so h square by 2. Before substituting lower limit you put minus sign. Instead of y you substitute 0. So 0. Therefore that implies force, total force or net force acts on the dam due to pressure difference across the dam is equal to b rho z into h square by, it is the force acts on the, total force acts on the dam. That is the equation 2. It is the total force acts on the dam. B rho z h square by 2. Okay. B rho z h square by 2. Now we have to find the torque. Now we have to find the torque acts on the dam. B rho g h square by 2. Okay. This is the force acts on the dam. Next, torque acts on the, here because of this force, no doubt this dam is having some center of gravity something. Suppose the center of gravity is say somewhere here. If the center of gravity is somewhere here, center of gravity is easy. This total force acts on the dam at this point in this direction. But we doesn't know where the center of gravity lies. Okay. If center of gravity is here, then at the through center of gravity, this force, net force, acts on the dam in this direction. So because of this force, whenever the dam is pushed in this direction, if there is a possibility for the dam to tilt or to turn, about which point the dam can be tilted. Suppose this edge of the dam is A, this edge of the dam is B. About which point there is a possibility for the dam to tilt? About B. So about B, there may be torque acts on the dam due to that force. Okay, that's why the dam will be tilted. Okay, about the point B. So here torque due to the force acts on the dam about the point B. We have to find. Next, torque. Torque acts on dam. Next concept. Here also, here as the forces are different, torques are also different. Suppose we consider the element here now, because the force acts on the element df about this point B, torque acts on the element in this torque acts on the element so that this element try to turn in this direction. Then on the all the elements, what is the net torque we have to calculate? Because the force is not constant, and moreover, suppose we got the net force acts on the dam in this direction. Where it lies, we doesn't know. Where it lies, we doesn't know. That's why if you know the center of gravity or center of mass of the dam, then we can say this force acts through center of mass. We can say if you know the distance, then this force into this height, perpendicular distance of this force from the point of rotation or about the point B, that gives the net torque. But we doesn't know where the center of gravity lies. That's why first we have to find the torque due to this force acts on the element about the point B. Torque acts on the element. Torque on element about B, comma, d tau is equal to force acts on this element df into perpendicular distance of the force from this point of rotation means this one. This is perpendicular distance. That means that is equal to h minus phi now. So h minus phi. Force into perpendicular distance of this direction of the force from the point about which torque to be determined. That means df into this perpendicular distance. That is equal to capital H minus phi now. So therefore, d tau is equal to, okay, it is the torque due to force acts on the element. Therefore, total torque tau is equal to integral d tau. That is equal to integral d tau means df means b rho z y dy. B rho z y dy into capital H minus small y. Limits. This time here the y value changes from, because we are integrating with respect to y. Y value changes from 0 to capital H only, no? That's why y is equal to 0 to capital H, right? This is equal to, in this, B rho z. These two are, they are constant. You write outside. B 0, okay. B 0. B rho z, no? B rho z. You write outside. Integral y is equal to 0 to capital H. You see, y into h minus y into dy. That means h into y minus y square into dy. I multiplied the bracket terms with y and keep in bracket, and into dy I have written. Now integrate them. Therefore, now average average torque acts on the this dam is equal to total torque acts on the dam is equal to, I mean, B rho z into, after integration what you will get? Capital H is constant into integral y dy means y square by 2 minus y square dy. Integral y square dy means y cube by 3. Limits 0 to capital H. That is equal to B rho z into, when you substitute the upper limit, you will get h square by 2. That is h cube by 3. H cube by 2 minus h cube by 3. That is equal to B rho z into, when you take LCM, then no, sorry, here it is 3, no? 3. When you take LCM, you will get h cube by 6, no? H cube by 6. Therefore, net torque acts on the dam due to water in the reservoir about the point B is equal to B rho z h cube by 6. It is the net torque. It is the net torque acts on the dam. Rho z b h cube by 6. So this is the average torque acts on the dam. Average torque acts on the dam. Or total torque acts on the dam. It is the average torque. Okay. But average torque acts on the dam is equal to average force into height at which average force acts. So average, here it is the average force. Total force is equal to average force itself. Average force is equal to, sorry, average torque is equal to average force into h dash. Average torque means B rho z h cube by 6 is equal to average force means B rho z h square by 2 into h dash. Therefore, 2 3s are, only one h will be cancelled, remaining all are cancelled. Implies h dash is equal to capital H by 3. That means average force here, h dash means, what is h dash there? The height at which, here h dash means this is this only, no? H dash means torque is equal to average force into height of the force at which it is applied about the point B. That's why. So average force acts, h dash, average force acts at a height h dash. That h dash is equal to half of the height of the water in the reservoir. So average force due to reservoir acts on the dam at a height equal to 1/3 of height of the water in a water in a reservoir. That is important point. That is the important point. So average force acts at that point. So while constructing the water tanks also in our houses, while constructing the water tanks at the terrace on the roof of the building, okay, here at a height h by 3 from the bottom of the tank at a height h by 3, the force due to entire water stored in the tank will be acted more, as more that total force acts at that height. That's why at that height h by 3 of the height of the water tank, 1/3 of height of the water tank, while constructing the water tank, it must be constructed very strongly, because that average force acts at that point. More force will be acting at that point. At the remaining places, not that much force acts. That's why at a height of 1/3 of height of the water tank, we must construct somewhat more rigidity. Okay, that is the case. So this is about the dam. Okay, these all formulas are important. Average force acts. It is equal to average force also. This is equal to average force also. F is equal to F average. Tau is equal to tau average. Here, tau average is equal to tau. What is the height at which this average force acts on the dam? At a height equal to h by 3 from the bottom. Where h is the height of the water in the reservoir. Okay. So these are the some important points. Now we'll discuss the problems. All of you open your objective material. All of you open your objective material. B is fixed now. How B is variable? B is the width of the bridge. That remains fixed now. Polavaram bridge is there. Polavaram dam is there. The length is approximately 1.3 kilometer. So the width is 1.3 kilometer. That is fixed. Between which places the dam is constructing, that is the width of the dam. Okay, that is fixed. Screen share. Actually, I feel that all are having objective materials. That's why I did not make the PDF. At least if you would say yesterday, I will make the PDF for objective. Sriram. Okay, I will read the problem perfectly. Okay, so that you hear the problem. Yeah. Yes, at the bottom of the dam, it is very rigid. It is constructed very strongly by means of concrete. Okay. Right. All of you open your objective material. At the bottom of the river, yeah, pressure is very much high. That's why they use iron girders. పెద్ద iron beams ని యూజ్ చేస్తారు ఆ ప్రెజర్ ని బేర్ చేసేట్టుగా. After that only they construct. Of course, nowadays there is a latest technology is there. Without making the digs, without digging, just by means of a bores only, they drill inside the without digging. They make a bores through some hundreds of meters by means of latest technology. Polavaram dam is constructing like that only. Okay, right. All of you open your objective material. Lecture sheet, exercise 1, level 1, page number 149. From 1, 2, 3, 4. Which problems you need? Second problem. Okay. Have you done first problem? Have you done first problem? Okay, right. Second problem, all of you see. A sphere of solid material of specific gravity 8 has a concentric spherical. A sphere of solid material. A sphere of solid material of specific gravity 8 has a concentric spherical cavity and it just sinks in water. It's very, very important problem. Here, suppose this is the surface of the water. The sphere just submerges in the water. The sphere just submerges in the water like this. Okay. Here, totally it is the sphere. It is the water. In this way, here it is the surface of the water. It is the bed, bottom of the water. Okay, now the sphere is completely just submerged in the water. But the sphere of solid material have a specific gravity 8. Specific gravity 8 means density is 8 gram per cc. Specific gravity K is equal to density of the body by density of the water. That is equal to 8 is given. In CS system, density of the water is 1 gram per cc. That's why rho B is equal to 8 gram per cc. Since rho W is equal to 1 gram per cc. Okay, so density of the material of the body is given. Material of the sphere is given. But it is having a cavity, concentric cavity. That means the sphere is having a concentric, it is center. So concentric gravity means like this. This is the cavity. This is cavity. The center of the cavity and center of the sphere both are coincide. So here it is the cavity. The cavity is there in the sphere, which is when it is kept on the surface of the water, it just submerges like this. Just submerges. Okay, now the ratio of the radius of the cavity to the outer radius of the sphere. Radius of the cavity is say R1. Radius of the outer sphere is say R2. There, what is our radius ratio between the radius of the cavity to the radius of the outer sphere? Radius of the cavity to radius of the outer sphere means R1 by R2 is equal to question mark. No doubt, as it is just submerged in the liquid, the weight of the sphere acts vertically downwards direction and bind force acts in upward direction. Because whatever the outer volume of the sphere, that amount of volume of the water is displaced. The weight of the water displaced by the sphere acts on the sphere as the bind force, and weight of the sphere acts vertically downwards direction. As it is floating over the surface, as it is floating, just by submerging the sphere inside the water, it is just floating. That's why it is under equilibrium. When it is under equilibrium, Fb is equal to mg. So Fb is equal to weight of the sphere mg. What is Fb? Fb means volume of the water displaced. Volume of the water displaced means whatever the outer volume of the sphere, that amount of volume of the water is displaced. That's why volume of the water displaced is 4 by 3 pi into radius cube. Outer radius is R2 cube. It is the volume of the water displaced into density of water rho W, which mass into Z, weight of the water displaced, which is equal to mass of the sphere into Z. Mass of the sphere means the density of the sphere is given. Density of material of the sphere is given. But here, the mass of the sphere is not occupied the total volume of the sphere. As the cavity is there, here actually volume of the material of the sphere into density of the material or density of the body into Z. That is the formula. So GZ cancel. So 4 by 3 pi R2 Q into density of water is equal to volume of material of the sphere we had to write here, because to write the mass of the sphere, volume of material of the sphere we had to find, we had to write. What is the volume of the material of the sphere? What is the volume occupied by material of the sphere means this is only the volume occupied by material of the sphere, because here there is a cavity. So volume of the material of the sphere means from outer volume subtract the volume of the cavity. That gives volume of material of the sphere. So 4/3 pi into R2 cube minus R1 cube. It is the volume of material of the sphere into density of the sphere or density of the body into Z. Of course, Z I cancel. 4 by 3 by 4 by 3 by can be cancelled. Okay, therefore R2 cube minus R1 cube by R2 cube is equal to density of water by density of the body. That is equal to 1 by specific gravity of the body we can write now. Specific gravity of the body is given as 8. Otherwise, density of the water 1 gram per cc, rho b is equal to 8 gram per cc, right? So this is equal to 1 by 8. Therefore, split them. R2 cube, okay, 1 minus R1 cube by R2 cube is equal to 1 by 8. Implies R1 by R2 whole cube is equal to 1 minus 1 by 8 now. That is equal to 7 by 8. Therefore, R1 by R2 is equal to 7 by 8 whole to the power of 1 by 3. 7 by 8 whole to the power of 1 by 3. That is equal to 7 to the power of 1 by 3 by 2 we can write, because if you write 2 cube, the 2 cube whole to the power of 1 by 3. That means 3 cancel, then 2. So 7 to the power of 1 by 3 by 2. That is equal to, this can be written as cube root of 7 by 2. I think this is the answer. R1 by R2 is equal to cube root of 7 by 2. That is the answer. This is equal to R1 by R2. In this way, you have to do. Okay. Similarly, this type of problem is there. Ornament is also there. One ornament problem is there, something, I think. Okay. Shall I write? Shall I rub the board? Ikkada buoyant force means the weight of the liquid displaced by the body. The body here, you see, outer volume of the body is this one. This amount of volume of the water is displaced, no? Inside the cavity, there is no water. Only as the sphere is this one. This volume of the water is displaced by the sphere. Their weight is equal to buoyant force. That's why volume of the entire sphere I consider. Volume of the entire sphere I consider. Okay. Next, okay, fourth problem is very, very important. I think that was previously asked a bit. Very, very important problem. A candle of diameter small d is floating on a liquid in a cylindrical container of diameter capital D by far greater than d, as shown. If it is burning at the rate of 2 centimeter per hour, then the top of the candle will be remains at the same height, fall at the rate of, okay. You see, it is also important problem. It is the beaker in which water is taken, and here there is a candle. There is a candle. Initially, it is floating over the surface of the water. It is floating over the surface of the water, surface of the liquid or water. Like this. When it is floating, the length of the candle above the surface of the water and below the surface of the water both are same. At the instant whenever it is floating, the length of the candle above the surface and below the surface both are same. So in this case, the weight of the candle mg acts vertically downwards direction and buoyancy acts in upward direction. So here diameter of the candle is given as small d and diameter of the vessel is given as capital D. Capital D is by far greater than small d. That indicates the candle does not touch the walls of the container. That is given. Okay. Suppose the area of cross section of this candle is say small a. Small a. Of course, that is equal to pi into d by 2 whole square we can write. A. Area of cross section of candle. Okay, now you see, as it is floating according to Archimedes principle, according to buoyancy principle, under equilibrium or at equilibrium, initially The bind force acts on the candle is equal to weight of the candle. So bind force acts on the candle means as the area here, bind force means weight of the liquid displaced by the candle. As half of the length of the candle submerged in a liquid, half of the volume of the candle submerged, no, or area of cross section to length gives volume of the candle submerged in the liquid. It is equal to volume of the liquid displaced into density of the liquid, rho L, into volume to density gives mass into Z, weight of the liquid displaced. That is equal to bind force. Is equal to mg. M means mass of the candle. Mass of the candle means volume of the candle. If it is A into L, it is A into 2L. Area of cross section to length of the entire candle is 2L. That gives volume of the candle into density of the candle, rho C into Z. Volume into density of the candle gives mass into Z. Z cancel, A cancel, LL cancel. Okay. Therefore, density of the liquid or water is equal to 2 into density of the candle. It is equation 1. That means initially by giving this L and L, they are given indirectly the relation between the densities like this. Relation between the densities like this. Is it the water or liquid? Liquid only. Okay. So by giving this one, this condition is given indirectly. Now the upper end of the candle is fired. Just it is burned, fired, so that the wick is blowing. When wick is firing here, then slowly it melts. When it melts, the height of the candle gradually decreases. When the height of the candle gradually decreases, it rises like this. And this height of the upper end of the candle gradually comes down. Okay. At certain instant, at certain instant, at certain instant, suppose the height of the candle above the surface of the water is say y. Height of the candle above the surface of the water is say y. Okay, now so the total length of the candle is 2L. Total length of the candle is 2L. When it is firing, then the height of the candle above the surface of the water is equal to y. Okay, now when it is glowing, when it is burning, then slowly it melts. When slowly melts, the upper end gradually comes down. Okay, at what rate it comes down? The answer remains constant, comes down with a velocity so and so, like that it is given. So in this case, what is the again you apply the Buoyancy principle in the total length. Suppose y length is in general. In general, I am writing if y length of the candle is above the surface of the water, total length of the candle is equal to given as 2L, because it is L means 2L. No? Now tell me, according to Buoyancy principle, FB is equal to weight mg. FB means volume of the liquid displaced by the candle. That is equal to this height of the candle inside the water, inside the liquid is equal to 2L minus y. No, 2L minus y. That's why 2L minus y is the length of the candle submerged inside the liquid into area of cross section small a gives volume into density of the candle. Sorry, density of the water liquid displaced rho L. This gives mass of the liquid displaced. Here it is the volume of the candle submerged into density of the liquid gives mass of the candle, mass of the liquid submerged, mass of the liquid displaced. Whatever the volume of the candle submerged, that amount of volume of the liquid is displaced. So this is the volume of the liquid displaced into density of the liquid displaced gives mass of the liquid displaced into Z, weight of the liquid displaced. That is equal to, still it is burning, still it is glowing. As long as the length of the upper end of the candle gradually melts, even then it is still floating over the surface of the water. That's why always it maintains this condition, which is equal to mass of the candle. Mass of the candle is equal to length 2L. At that instant, whenever the total length is 2L, at that time, mass of the candle means length 2L into area of cross section gives volume into density of the candle, rho C into Z. So here, A cancel. Okay, ZZ cancel. Then 2L minus Y. 2L minus Y is equal to 2L rho C by rho L. 2L rho C by rho L. Okay, now here which are variables? Tell me. In this, which are variables? You tell me. Which are the variables in this? Tell me. Whenever the candle is melting, whenever the wick is glowing, candle is slowly melting, so that the total length of the candle decreases. Total length of the candle. Instead of 2L, you write better to write small l, because 2L means you may confuse. So you write total length. You take this total length as small l. Total length as small l. Then you write small l there. That is enough. Instead of 2L, you write small l. Instead of 2L, you write small l. Instead of 2L, you write small l. That's all. Because the problem it is given that if it is burning at the rate of 2 centimeter per hour, that means the rate of melting of the candle, dL by dt. Rate of melting of the candle means at what rate length of the candle changes, burned or melted. That is equal to dL by dt, which is equal to, that is given as 2 centimeter per hour. dL by dt is given. The rate at which the candle is melting, that means at what rate the length of the candle decreases, that is given as 2 centimeter per hour. Okay. Now we differentiate on both sides. D by dt of L minus Y is equal to D by dt of L rho C by rho L. So here dL by dt minus dy by dt is equal to, here rho C by rho L is constant, you keep aside, into dL by dt. Okay, you bring this dL by dt term to left and dy by dt to right. Then dL by dt we can take common of 1 minus rho C by rho L is equal to dy by dt. Now we substitute the data. dL by dt means rate of melting of the dL by dt, rate of melting of the candle, that is given as 2 centimeter. You write 2 into 1 minus rho C by rho L. Rho C by rho L is equal to 1 by 2 no, because rho L is equal to 2 rho C. Rho C by rho L is equal to 1 by 2. That is equal to dy by dt. dy by dt means at what rate the height of the candle changes, because height of the candle above the surface of the water is y. So at what rate it changes due to melting, that means dy by dt. That is the question they ask. So dy by dt is equal to, I think, 1 centimeter per hour only, because we substituted dl by dt in 1 centimeter per hour. So you will get dy by dt also in centimeter per hour only. So the length decreases at the rate of dl by dt. So this height of the candle above the surface of the water also decreases at the rate of course we have substitute minus sign, because here it is minus. Here because of burning, because of melting, the length of the candle decreases. That's why minus you write. L decreases, so minus you write. Then you substitute minus, you will get minus sign, minus value. That means the height of the candle above the surface of the water decreases. Minus sign represents the height of the candle decreases at this rate. Therefore, height of the candle above water, height of candle above water or above liquid decreases at the rate of 1 centimeter per hour. That is the answer. I think 1 centimeter per hour is the answer. Yeah, when height decreases, automatically mass also decreases, but at the same time, as it is floating, the bind force balances the weight always. Bind force balances the weight. Bind force needed also decreases gradually. When weight decreases, bind force needed to keep in equilibrium, that also decreases. Fall, okay, minus sign represents the height falls at the rate of 1 centimeter per hour. So option 2 is correct. Option 2 is correct. What about fifth problem? What about fifth problem? That was previously asked which. Here you see again I am explaining. In exercise 1 level 2, problem number 1. Here one block is kept on the smooth inclined wedge, fixed wedge, having angle of inclination 30. And it is connected to one end of the block is kept over the smooth inclined surface and of mass m, and it is connected to one end of the string. The string is passed over the two pulleys like this, and at the other end another sphere is fixed, and it is kept submerged in a liquid in a beaker. The specific gravity of the liquid is given as 2. Specific gravity of liquid, specific gravity of the sphere given. Specific gravity of the sphere, not liquid. Specific gravity of the sphere is given. Specific gravity for sphere. For sphere it is given. That is equal to 2. That means density of the body by density of the liquid is the, of course it is called as the relative density also. Okay, that is equal to 2 given. Now, when the system is released, what is the acceleration they ask? Here we see, along the length of the string, what are the forces acts? Because there is a possibility for the block and sphere to move along the length of the string, either in this direction or in this direction. Okay, along the length of the string, weight component here is mg sin 30, here mg. No doubt, it is not mg. The apparent weight of the sphere is equal to mg of 1 minus density of the liquid by density of the body, because apparent weight of the, if it is suspended in air, then mg only correct, but it is submerged in a liquid. That's why apparent weight of the sphere we have to write. Okay, so here suppose if the entire system will move in this direction, then in this direction means t is greater than this mg sin 30. As it is totally the same string, tension the string here is t, here also t. While the system is coming in this direction, mg of 1 minus dl by db greater than tension. That's why this minus t is equal to m into a. For this block, t minus mg sin 30 is equal to m into a. Okay, now from these two equations, when I cancel the t value, then I got a is equal to 0. That means the block and sphere both are at rest. Both are at rest. That means along the length of the string, whatever the apparent weight of the sphere here, that is same as this mg sin 30. That's why net force along the length of the string becomes 0. Hence there is no acceleration in the block and sphere. That is the case. Okay. Okay, see, second problem. A light circular cone, is pressed by 500 Newton force as shown in figure. Then the depth up to which it will submerge is. Here one, a light circular cone is there. Of course, here cone is having circular base. That is not shown in the diagram. Directly it is given like this. It is the circular cone. Sorry, light circular cone here. It is having circular cross section at this place. It is not shown here. It is here. It is the light circular cone means weight of the cone is negligible. Weight of the cone is negligible. It is kept over the surface of the water and it is pressed downwards by a force of F is equal to 500 Newton. Then the depth up to which it will submerge. Suppose it submerges up to certain depth, up to this depth, like this. By keeping the cone on the surface of the water or liquid, and when it is pressed down, suppose as it is light circular cone, if you keep the cone like this, it does not submerge, it's floating without any displacement of the water or liquid. But whenever it is pushed down through by means of a force 500 Newton, definitely it submerges. So up to what depth it submerges? That is the question. Up to what depth it submerges? Suppose the cone is submerged up to a depth of say small h. Cone is submerged up to a depth of small h. That small h is how much? That means you see here when the cone is submerged here at the time The weight of the cone is negligible because mass of the cone is not given. So weight of the cone is negligible. It is the axis of the cone. It is the axis of the cone. Whatever here weight is negligible, but the downwards direction on the cone F force acts, and on the cone in upward direction buoyant force acts. Whenever these two are equal in magnitude, at that position the cone is under equilibrium. That's why F the buoyant force is equal to action force applied. That is the condition. Okay, now what about the buoyant force? Buoyant force means suppose it is submerged up to this one. It is submerged up to the depth h. Then whatever the volume of the cone of height small h, that amount of volume of the water is displaced. The equivalent weight acts on the cone as the buoyant force. So the weight of the cone is negligible because it is a light circular cone. It is mentioned. Mass of the cone is not given. That's why the weight of the cone small m is negligible. Suppose if the weight of the cone is also given, then F plus mc we have to write. This applied force plus weight of the cone. Both we have to write here. But light circular cone, that's why the weight of the cone can be neglected. Okay, that is given. Okay. Now you see, you find here from the diagram, if you see, this radius of the base of the cone is given. Radius of base of the cone, capital R is equal to 0.3 meter. At this position, what is the radius? We doesn't know. That radius is a small r. Next, the total height of the cone is also given. The total height of the cone is 3 meter. The total height of the cone is given as 3 meter. Y is equal to 3 meter. That is given. Okay, nice. Here now you see, suppose this is angle theta. Semi-vertex angle of the cone is a theta. Then from the diagram, tan theta is equal to what? Tan theta is equal to opposite side in this triangle, small r, and this is equal to small h. So small r by small h, that is equal to, in this triangle, tan theta is equal to capital R by y. Capital R by y. Okay. From this small r is equal to, okay, capital R means 0.3, y means 3. That is equal to 1 by 10. 1 by 10. Okay, therefore, small r is equal to small h by 10. We can write now. This is equation 1. Okay, now from equation, sorry, it is 2. From 1, FB is equal to F no. What is MB? Tell me what is the volume of the liquid displaced here? Volume of liquid displaced into density of liquid into Z. That is the weight of the liquid displaced, which is equal to buoyant force. That is equal to F means 500 Newton. What is the volume of the liquid displaced? Whatever the volume of the cone submerged in the liquid, that is equal to volume of the liquid displaced. So what is the volume of the cone submerged here? The height of the cone submerged is small h, radius is r. Then what is the volume of the cone? If height is h and radius is r, what is the volume of the cone? 1/3 pi r square h now. So 1 by 3 pi into radius small r square, 1/3 pi r square h, h means small h. This volume of the cone only submerged. You should not write total volume of the cone, okay? Into density of liquid into D is equal to 500 Newton. Okay, now pi by 3 into radius, because we have to find the depth up to which cone submerges. This h we have to calculate. R should not be there. So instead of R, you can write h by 10. So h by 10 whole square into small h is there already. Rho L into Z is equal to 500. Okay. Therefore, pi by 3 into h cube by 100 into h square h cube into density of liquid into G10 is equal to 500. Okay. Now, what about the density? Is it water? It is water only because it is not mentioned anyone. Is like water is not mentioned. I think water only it is. Water is to be mentioned. Density of the water is equal to 1 gram per cc. Even it is not given, we can take. The density of liquid means density of water only. So you write the density of the water only here. Density of the water. Okay. Density of the water. Right. Pi by 3 into 0, 0 cancel. Okay. H cube into density of the water is 10 cube. because in SI system we had substitute because 500 Newton we are given. 500 Newton means in SI system. In SI system only we had substitute the density. So 1 gram means 1 gram per cc means 10 to the power 3 kilogram per meter cube. No? So instead of density you write 10 cube. Here 500 into 10 means 5000. So 3 zeros cancel. So h cube is equal to 15 by 5. H cube is equal to 15 by 5. So h cube is equal to 15 by 22 by 7 means into 7. So 105 by 22. Okay, that is equal to 2 11s are 2 5s are 10 2 1s are sorry 2 2s are 0.25s are 11 52.5 by 11. So 11 4s are 44.8 remainder. Okay, 85 11 85 11 7s are or approximately 11 8s are we can take h cube. Approximately you will get answer. So when you take the h value, h is equal to 4.8 whole to power of 1 by 3. So approximately you have to check the option. 1.7 to 2.13 is there. 2 cube means 8 must be there. Here to obtain 2 value, 8 must be there. Remaining all are 2.13. So definitely 2 is not correct. Because if 8 is there, we can write 2. But it is less than 8 means answer must be less than 2. That means 1.7 I think. What is the answer? If you simplify them, you will get I think 1.69. 1.69 means 1.7 you will get. So when you simplify them, which is equal to 1.69 you will get. That is nearly equal to 1.7 meter. That is the answer. Suppose if the mass of the cone is taken into account, if mass of the cone is mentioned, then plus mg we have to write because total downward force acts on the cone is equal to F plus mg we have to write. But light cone is given. Light means mass of the cone can be neglected, ignored. Okay, right. This is the answer for this problem. Third problem, the density of ice is x gram per cc and that of water, density of water is equal to y gram per cc. Y gram per cc. What is the change in volume in cc when m gram of ice melts? What is the change in volume in cc when m gram of ice melts? Mass of ice melts is equal to m gram. That is given. Okay, first of all, what is the volume of the ice? Density of the ice is given. Density of the ice is given. So volume of the ice is equal to volume of ice is equal to say V or VI, that is equal to mass by density gives volume. No? So volume of the ice is equal to this one. That means this volume of the ice is melted. Volume of the water is how much? When m mass of the ice is melted, and that melted means it is converted into water. Then what is the volume of water? Volume of water is called mass is same. Even m mass of ice is melted, it is converted into water. That's why mass does not change. But whenever it is converted into water, the volume decreases. Volume of the ice is more for the same mass. Okay, because density of the water is more, so volume will be less. So mass of the water, mass of the ice converted into water is m by density of the water rho w. Density of the water rho w. Okay, this is equal to m by rho I means x. Here it is m by y. Okay. Now what is the change in volume? They ask it. What is the change in volume? That is only no. Yeah, change in volume. Change in volume delta V is equal to whose volume is more? As the density of water is greater than density of the ice, definitely volume of water is less than volume of the ice. That's why change in volume is volume of ice minus volume of the water. So delta V is equal to volume of ice means m by x minus m by y. So that implies m. Okay, delta V is equal to, when you take m common, 1 by x minus 1 by y. This is the change in volume of the change in volume. Or we can write m into 1 by y minus 1 by x. Here, yeah, m into 1 by r delta V is equal to, we can write m into 1 by y minus 1 by x. Because if you write like this, no doubt, as the volume of the ice is more, then decrease in volume is decrease in volume is this one. If you substitute directly final volume minus initial volume, you will get minus sign. Minus sign represents decrease in volume. Both are same. It is magnitude. Magnitude is decrease in volume. Here this is the decrease in volume. Okay, it is the change in volume. When you substitute the data, you will get minus sign. That indicates decrease in volume. So both are same. Next one is very, very important. Fourth problem. That fourth problem is very, very important. A hollow sphere of mass. Fourth problem. There is a hollow sphere. There is a hollow sphere having certain mass. That mass is 50 kg is given. Mass of the hollow sphere is equal to 50 kg is given. And radius of the hollow sphere, this radius capital is equal to 3 by 45 whole to the power of 1 by 3 is given. 3 by 45 whole to the power of 1 by 3 is immersed in a tank of water of density. Here there is a tank. Here it is the tank. In this tank, it is filled with water. It is filled with water. Okay, the sphere is kept in the water and it is connected to two strings. It is connected to two strings like this. The strings are symmetric. So with a horizontal, these two strings makes an angle 45 degree. Here also 45 degree. Like this, it is given. It is the string A. It is the string B. Both are symmetric, as angles are same. Okay, now the sphere is tied to the bottom by the bottom of the tank by the two wires A and B as shown. It is under equilibrium. Then tension. Okay, tension in A. They ask it. Okay, you see here whatever here actually bind force as the sphere is displaced the volume, whatever the volume of the sphere, that amount of volume of the liquid is displaced from this place. That's why bind force acts on the sphere upwards and weight mg acts downwards direction. But whenever if the bind force is greater, then only tension will be developed. If bind force is less, weight is more, it comes down. When it comes down, the strings becomes slacks, means loose. That's why no tension. As they asked the tension, here tension is not zero anywhere in the options. That's why definitely bind force will be greater than weight of the sphere. Then this sphere try to move in this direction, but at the same time, the strings pull the sphere in this direction with the tensions TA and TB. As both are symmetric, the same tensions are developed. So TA is equal to TB is equal to T. Okay, then you resolve this tension to components like this. If it is 45, definitely it is 45, it is 45. It is T cos 45, it is T sin 45. Here also, it is T sin 45, T cos 45. Okay, this here on this sphere, at this point and at this point, horizontal component of tensions will be acting and exact opposite to each other. They cancel. Only along vertically downwards direction, T sin 45, T sin 45 acts. And weight mg acts in downwards direction. In upward direction, FB acts. Under equilibrium, bind force is balanced by weight plus total tension component acts in vertically downwards direction equal to 2T sin 45. So what is the bind force? Bind force means volume of the liquid displaced by the volume of the water displaced by the sphere is equal to volume of the sphere only, as it is sphere 4/3 pi capital Q equal to density of the body. Density of the body, density of the sphere, rho S. It is the mass into Z is the weight. It is equal, sorry, density of the liquid we have right now, because bind force we have written here. So volume of the liquid displaced is equal to 4/3 pi Q, which is equal to volume of the sphere, density of the water or density of the liquid into Z. It is the bind force. Then mass is directly given, we can substitute directly 50 into G10 plus 2T by root 2. We can write. Okay, now we simplify them. We simplify them. 4 by 3 pi into r cube. R means this one. 3 by 45 whole power of 1 by 3. Sorry, whole power of 1 by 3. It is r value. Whole power of 3 is there. So that back, into density of the liquid. So here I think it is water only. Water. Water of density is also given. Okay, 10 to the power of 3. Even it is not given, we can write 10 to the power of 3 into G10 is equal to 500 plus root 2t. Okay, so here 3 cancel, 5 cancel, 3 cancel, 4 tens are this 10 and this 10 cancel, 1000. So root 2t is equal to 500 or t is equal to 250 root 2 Newton. 250 root, yeah, 250 root 2 Newton. Okay, శ్రీరామ్ రేపే చెప్పుకుందాం మళ్ళీ మిగిలిన. Yeah, 250 root 2. Okay, right. Okay, and I'm signing out because time is I think over.